Hey everyone, we are working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Did you just see that? Did you just see what I saw? Because if you didn't, let me paint you a picture. You've got a first-round pick at wide receiver running a route so sharp, so violent, so intentional, that grown men covering him looked like they were trying to guard a freight train. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dre Fiver. This is Dre Reports. And today we are talking about the Cleveland Browns rookie minicamp and how two rookies just walked into Berea, Ohio, and immediately put the most expensive underperformer on the roster on notice. If your name is Jerry Judy, you are having a very, very bad week. And we are only getting started. Let's set the scene. The Browns held their rookie minicamp over the weekend at the cross-country mortgage campus in Berea. And the energy coming out of that place was something this fan base has not felt in a long, long time. We're talking about two wide receivers. First-round pick KC Concepcion, drafted 24th overall out of Texas A&M, and second-round pick Denzel Boston out of the University of Washington, taken 39th overall, both on the same field, in the same drills, making plays together for the very first time in Browns gear. And according to reporting from Cleveland Browns official team channels and from outlets like Browns Nation, the coaching staff came away legitimately excited. Head coach Todd Monken himself stood up in front of the media and specifically praised Boston's movement skills. And when a first-year head coach is calling out a second-round pick by name after day one of rookie minicamp, something is going on. That is not routine. That is a man who just saw something he liked. Monken said, and I'm paraphrasing here because the man keeps it clean and professional. He said that Boston has quick feet off the line of scrimmage, that he does a really good job getting in and out of breaks for someone with his length, and that when you watch him move around, you can really see his skill set. Now, for those of you who don't speak coach, let me translate. What Todd Monken just said was, this kid is not just a big body standing around hoping a ball falls into his hands. This is an athlete, a real one. And for a Cleveland wide receiver room that, according to reporting from Browns Nation, finished dead last in the entire NFL in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns last season. I want you to let that sink in. Last in all three categories. The fact that a 6 feet 4 inches receiver is showing up and looking fluid on day one is significant. This is not small news. This is potentially franchise-altering news. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. And I mean that with the utmost respect for elephants, because elephants are strong and loyal and don't drop footballs at the worst possible moments. That elephant's name is Jerry Judy. And look, I have to be fair here. In 2024, Jerry Judy was a Pro Bowler. He hauled in 90 catches for 1,229 receiving yards with the Browns, which is legitimately impressive, especially considering what that quarterback situation looked like. He was the WR1. He was the go-to guy, and for one shining season, it looked like Cleveland had finally found their man on the outside. That version of Jerry Judy? Terrifying, special, worth every penny. But then 2025 happened. According to Pro Football Reference, in 2025, Judy's production dropped off by almost half, 50 catches, 602 yards, 2 touchdowns. His PFF overall grade fell to 58.5, ranking him 72nd out of 81 qualified wide receivers for the season. And the drops? Oh, we have to talk about the drops. According to Sportradar data reported by Spectrum News, at one point in the 2025 season, Judy had accumulated 8 dropped passes through just the first 6 weeks. 8 drops in 6 games. 4 of his first 8 games featured multiple drops in a single contest. And if you go back to the 2024 season, the Pro Bowl season, Pro Football Reference data shows he actually led the entire league in drops that year with 13. 13. He was a Pro Bowler who also led the NFL in drops. Let me say that one more time so it really marinates. Jerry Judy made the Pro Bowl and led the league in drops in the same season. That is a very specific kind of chaos, and I don't know whether to be impressed or afraid. Now, as reported by Heavy.com, there are already people in the media floating trade scenarios, specifically a deal that would ship Judy to the Washington Commanders for a 2027 fifth-round pick. The logic goes something like this. Cleveland got Judy in the first place for a 5th-rounder and a 6th-rounder back in 2024. If they can turn around and get a 5th back now, with 2 years of production already in the bank, that's not a disaster. That might actually be a net neutral. And with Concepcion and Boston now both on the roster, both young, both cheap, both on rookie contracts, the math starts to get very uncomfortable for Jerry Judy very quickly. Let's get into KC Concepcion specifically. because the story of this kid is something else. First round pick, 24th overall, out of Texas A&M. And I'll be honest with you, on draft night, there were people who raised an eyebrow because the concern coming into this draft was real and documented. As reported across multiple draft analysts and confirmed by Browns general manager Andrew Berry himself, Concepcion had the highest drop rate, 9.3%, of any wide receiver in this entire draft class. That's not nothing. That is a legitimate red flag. And if you follow this channel, you know I don't do the thing where I just ignore concerns because I'm excited about a player. We deal in reality here at Dre Reports. That drop rate is a problem. It was a problem in college, and it needs to be addressed. But, and this is a big but, here's the other side of that coin. Concepcion also had one of the highest contested catch rates of any receiver in this entire draft class. He goes up and gets balls. He challenges defensive backs. He high points footballs. And as reported by the Cleveland Browns official website, he isn't just a slot receiver. He returned 2 punts for touchdowns last season at Texas A&M. He was named the Paul Hornung Award winner given to the most versatile player in all of college football. And Berry described him as, quote, probably the best punt returner in this class. So yes, he drops some balls. He also does things with the ball in his hands that Jerry Judy has simply not shown the ability to do consistently at the NFL level. And at rookie minicamp, when Concepcion had a drop on a ball that was, let's be honest, thrown behind him by a developmental 6th-round quarterback in Taylon Green, nobody panicked because they've seen this kid's ceiling. They know what he is. One slightly offline ball in a no-pads walkthrough is not the story. The story is how he responded. He kept competing. He came back to the ball on the very next play. That is a separator. Now let me tell you about the man who has Dre Fiver genuinely hyped beyond all reasonable measure. Denzel Boston. 6'4", 39th overall pick. University of Washington. This man was projected by multiple analysts across the board to go in the first round. The New York Jets actually traded back into the first round, specifically to grab Omar Cooper Jr. at pick 31. And according to Browns Nation reporting, Cleveland was actively considering trading up to grab Boston before the second round even started. They didn't have to. He fell right to them at 39. And in the words of absolutely everyone who has watched this man move, that is highway robbery. Here's why Boston excites me in a way that goes beyond just big receiver can catch deep balls. The Browns' offense under Todd Monken, and if you've watched the Baltimore Ravens over the last several years, you understand what Monken's background looks like, is going to demand physicality. It's going to demand receivers who can hold their blocks on the perimeter, who can get contested catches in the red zone, and who can be a mismatch problem in the end zone when the defense tries to load the box against the run. Boston in that system is a nightmare. A defensive back who's 5'11" or 6 feet 0 inches does not get to play this man physically. You cannot press Denzel Boston at the line of scrimmage with a corner who's giving away 3 inches and 30 pounds. It doesn't work. And when you have Harold Fannin Jr. lined up as your tight end and Concepcion threatening underneath, where exactly are you going to shade your safety? Where are you sending your help? Because Boston is going to be standing in the back of your end zone, and somebody has to account for him. Monken's own words, that Boston has quick feet and gets in and out of breaks for someone with his length, are critical here, because the knock on big receivers is always that they're stiff, that they can't sink their hips and change direction, that they're glorified jump ball targets and nothing more. Boston is not that. He is a route runner who also happens to have the physical tools to absolutely bully smaller defensive backs. That combination, as reported by Browns Nation, is exactly what motivated Cleveland to reportedly consider trading up. You don't think about moving up for a jump ball merchant. You think about moving up for a weapon. Now I want to spend a minute on something that doesn't always get enough attention in these conversations. The quarterback connection. Because wide receivers don't exist in a vacuum, and the Browns' WR room in 2026 is operating in the context of one of the most fascinating quarterback situations in the entire NFL. You've got Shedeur Sanders, the 5th-round pick from 2025 who started games for this team down the stretch last year and showed real flashes. You've got Deshaun Watson, the man on the reported $230 million guaranteed contract who hasn't played a full season in Cleveland yet due to suspension and injury. And you've got Taylon Green in the 6th round of this draft, a developmental arm with, and I need to quote this properly because the optics are remarkable, the frame of a quarterback that is 6 feet 6 inches with reportedly a cannon attached to his right shoulder. Here's where it gets interesting. According to CBS Sports, reporting from Mary Kay Cabot of Cleveland.com confirmed that as of the team's first voluntary minicamp, Deshaun Watson had taken the lead in the quarterback competition. getting the lion's share of first-team reps and reportedly impressing the coaching staff with his accuracy and experience. Sanders is still in the mix. Gabriel is apparently fighting for his starting quarterback life. But the drama is real and it is ongoing. And here's what KC Concepcion himself told the media at rookie minicamp. And this is important. He said he already knew Shedeur and already knew Deshaun before he even got drafted. Met them both on his top 3-0 visit. Had already been texting. He said he just met Taylon Green the day before minicamp. He said he just met Dylan Gabriel the day before minicamp. Read between those lines. Concepcion, the first-round pick, the guy the Browns are building around, is already in the group chat with the two quarterbacks who are actually fighting for the starting job. He is already building a connection, already establishing chemistry before a single padded practice has taken place. When a top 2-4 pick is telling you he knows the quarterbacks before the draft is even over, that is not a coincidence. That is infrastructure. That is Andrew Berry and Todd Monken building something that is designed to actually work. And speaking of building something, let me address what Todd Monken is constructing schematically with this roster, because it matters for understanding why these wide receivers were drafted and what exactly Jerry Judy's role becomes in this offense going forward. Monken comes from a Ravens background where fullbacks, tight ends, and multiple formation run games were central to everything. And at rookie minicamp, the reports coming out of Berea made clear that the fullback position is being taken seriously. Harold Fannin Jr., last year's tight end phenom, reportedly took fullback reps in certain red zone packages. The new rookie tight end Carson Ryan out of UCLA was also discussed as a potential fullback or hybrid option. What Monken is building is a formation-heavy, identity-driven offense, where every player has a defined role, and the scheme creates advantages rather than hoping individual talent overcomes schematic weaknesses. In that system, Denzel Boston's physicality and blocking willingness, and Boston himself said at minicamp that blocking is one of the things he prides himself on most, becomes exponentially more valuable. You want a wide receiver who will crack block on the edge? Boston says yes. You want a receiver who will get physical with press coverage and fight for position in the red zone? Boston says yes. You want someone who your offensive line doesn't have to be embarrassed to stand next to in terms of toughness and effort? Boston says yes. According to as-reported statements from Boston directly at minicamp, when the pads come on, demonstrating that physical dominance is going to be his main focus. That is a very specific kind of wide receiver. And that is, I will say it plainly, the opposite of what we have seen from Jerry Judy on too many Sunday afternoons in Cleveland. Now here's the reality check moment. Because this is Dre Reports, and we don't just blow smoke at you and tell you everything is perfect when it isn't. These are rookies. Concepcion dropped a ball at minicamp. A ball thrown behind him, yes, but still a drop. And for a player who posted the highest documented drop rate in this entire draft class coming into the league, that is not something you just wave away. It's one data point, but it rhymes with a concern that was already documented extensively before he was ever drafted. The drop issue is real. It needs to be coached, it needs to be addressed, and it may or may not be something that follows him into the regular season. Denzel Boston, for all his physical tools, has not been described as a route separator at the NFL level. The scouting community has consistently noted that his separation numbers were not elite in college. In the NFL, where corners are faster, smarter, and more physical than anything he faced in the pack, 1-2, those limitations could be exposed. The first time Boston lines up against a Jalen Ramsey or a Patrick Surtain and gets shut down clean for a full game, the narrative might swing hard in the other direction. I'm just being real with you. But here's why I still think the trajectory is pointed upward for both of these players, and why it's pointed down for Judy standing in this building. According to reporting from Dogs by Nature, this is the first time in Cleveland Browns history, going all the way back to 1950, that the franchise has selected 2 wide receivers within the first 40 picks of any draft class. First time ever. In 70-plus years of Cleveland Browns football, they have never invested top 4-0 capital in 2 wide receivers in the same draft. Andrew Berry sat down, looked at last year's film, watched his receivers finish dead last in the NFL in every meaningful receiving category, and said enough. We are going all in on fixing this position. That is not the behavior of a front office that is planning to hand things over to Jerry Judy and hope for the best. Let me bring it all the way home, because we've covered a lot of ground, and I want to make sure you leave this video understanding exactly what you're watching unfold in Cleveland. The Browns, after years of quarterback chaos, offensive line disaster, and a wide receiver room that looked like something assembled from a bargain bin and a prayer, have now put genuine weapons on the field. Shedeur Sanders, who showed real flashes of legitimate starter-caliber play down the stretch of last year, now has 2 first- and second-round receiver weapons to throw to. If Watson wins the job, and according to CBS Sports reporting, he currently holds the early lead, you have a veteran quarterback who was a 3-time Pro Bowler in Houston, who now has the kind of receiver talent he never actually had in Cleveland before. Either way, the environment for these receivers to succeed is more legitimate today than it was 2 weeks ago, before that draft happened. And Jerry Judy? Jerry Judy, who signed that 3-year, $52.5 million extension with the Browns back in 2024, who has 2 years remaining on that deal, who has led the league in drops once and accumulated 9 more in a down 2025 season. Jerry Judy is now looking up the depth chart at a 6'4" second-round pick, who wants to block a 24th overall pick who can return punts and will run contested catch routes with his life on the line, and a coaching staff that is building an entire offensive system around physicality, toughness, and precision. If Judy doesn't come into OTAs and training camp with an entirely different approach, a more aggressive approach, a higher pointing approach, an approach where he meets the ball instead of waiting for it, there are real, documented, credible reports already circulating about trading him to Washington for draft capital. The wide receiver room in Cleveland is being rebuilt in real time in front of all of us. Denzel Boston and KC Concepcion arrived in Berea last Friday and immediately started putting the rest of the roster on notice. They're young, they're hungry. They admitted on camera that playing in the NFL has been their dream their entire lives, and they are playing like it. That energy matters. In a league where half the players stop caring about the craft once the contract is signed, you want the guys who still feel the electricity of being on that field. Both these kids had it at minicamp. Everyone in that building could see it. The Cleveland Browns have not had 2 legitimate wide receiver threats in years. They might actually have 3 now, if Judy finds his 2024 self and rediscovers what made him a Pro Bowler. But make no mistake about who just became the most important players in that receiver room. It's not the man they already paid. It's the 2 men they just drafted in the top 40 picks of the 2026 NFL Draft, who ran out onto that practice field with nothing to lose and everything to prove. The monsters have arrived in Cleveland, and Jerry Judy better be ready. That is all for today, my people. If you made it this far, you know you're a real one, and I need you to do 3 things right now. First, smash that like button. Not tap it, smash it. If this video got you fired up about what's happening in Cleveland, the algorithm needs to know that. Second, drop a comment down below and tell me, is Denzel Boston going to be the best wide receiver on this team by week 8 of the 2026 season? Because I think we both know the answer. And third, if you are not yet subscribed to Dre Reports, hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell, because every single day we are bringing you the unfiltered, no-holds-barred truth about everything happening in the NFL. Not the corporate take, not the soft take, the real take. I'm Dre Fiver. Stay dangerous, stay informed, and I'll see you on the next one.